All right. I think we're getting kind of live here. Here we go. We'll give YouTube a moment to load up. How's everyone doing out there? Let me know where you're from. As usual, if you have any questions, I'll be answering those as I go, doing the best I can to answer those for you. We'll have our lesson portion at the beginning. Today will be more of a vocabulary lesson, and I really want to help people understand how they can finally become fluent speakers and become more confident speakers, especially if you've been learning a long time and you still struggle to speak. So we're going to be talking about that in this video, specifically about how to understand things better, because that's really the goal to unlocking speech. All right, looks like we are going live now. So I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com. Welcome to another live video. I am the English Fluency Guide, and today we're going to talk about aha moments and how to get them. And especially for new people watching this, the main idea, what we do on this channel, is helping people understand English like a native speaker, because that's a way you start speaking fluently. So most of the people who watch these videos, maybe you out there, you have trouble, maybe you can understand quite a bit of English, but you still have trouble expressing yourself. And most of that comes from doubts that stop you from speaking. So maybe you have doubts about pronunciation or whatever, so we're going to talk about that in this video. All right, it looks like we are working over here. All right, let me erase the board and we'll get started. Now, I wanted to do this video because someone asked me in the last live video I did. I guess that was that Thursday last week? In that video, so this person was saying, well, how do we get aha moments? How exactly do we practice the language to understand things better? So let me begin by talking about that very quickly. The traditional English as a second language way of thinking about language learning is that you want to try to learn as much as you can, try to get as much vocabulary as possible, and then try to speak as much as possible, and that's how you get fluent. But many people follow this strategy, including me. I tried following this strategy for 15 years, learning different types of, I learned like French, Spanish, Japanese, and Latin, and I failed to learn all of those with this traditional method. And most people are in the same situation, so they spend a lot of time trying to learn as much vocabulary as they can, and they can often understand things logically, like grammar rules, but they don't end up using them confidently and fluently in their conversations. So the basic problem is not how much you know. So it's not how many words you have in your vocabulary, or where you live or how old you are. The trick really to fluency is to make sure you understand what you're talking about. Because if you have doubts will stop the confidence from allowing you to speak. So you basically have things you want to say, but you're unable to express them because you have doubts, whatever those doubts are. It could be doubts about pronunciation or grammar or vocabulary usage or something like that. So I want to talk about that in this video, and in my thumbnail I drew some very simple images. I like to be very simple, and so these are some images of doors. So just a very simple idea. I thought the door idea was an easier way to explain this. But in the traditional way of learning, what you do is you will learn a word, like let's just say the word fall, for example. And typically you will get a translation of this from your native language. Now in English we have like the season fall, but we also have the thing, like, you know, something falling down. And so typically you will get like a translation from your native language, and then you learn the English word like that. And then maybe you remember this with a few examples, and you get this on a test, and you remember what it means for the test. But in real communication is dynamic. And that means that every conversation is unique and different, and you never know what natives are going to say, or even if they're not natives, what other people are going to say in conversations. And maybe their pronunciation is different, or they're speaking faster, or the vocabulary is different, or whatever. So when you're just learning it this way, people will typically get review that's just repeating the word again and again. So I will write this word on a flashcard. Maybe I have my translation on the back. So it's just, here's a flashcard with fall on the other side of it, translation. And I just repeat that word again and again, and hopefully I remember it. Now, what we want to do when we learn English as a first language, the point is not to try to repeat something. I think about this as opening different doors. So if you maybe get one example, even if you understand a simple word like fall, it's good to open other doors, meaning you get a variety of angles on the way you understand something. So let's go through some of those actually with the word fall, because it seems like a very simple word, but actually there are a great many interesting uses for it. So again, if we just learn something as a second language, we get maybe one word out of that learning. So we get fall, and again, you have a translation, but I'd like you to understand it as a first language. And so rather than just repeating the word, we open different doors by trying to understand a word in a different way. So we try to get these different angles, and the purpose of this is if we just repeat something, we're not really learning anything new. And without learning anything new, you don't understand anything better, and the understanding is really what allows you the confidence to speak. So if you still have doubts about something, even if you repeat this word many times, then you're still going to struggle to use it if people say something different, or they use it in a different way, or the pronunciation is different. So just to give you a very quick idea of how fluency actually works, I explained this, I think, in the last video, but it's, I guess, a good idea to re-explain it here. If you think about, like, this is time over here, and this is your progress. So we'll just put a P for progress and a T for how much time you're spending learning. So the amount of time doesn't really make much difference to how quickly you get fluent. So I could spend a lot of time studying, but not actually make much progress. And this is what happens with a lot of people. So they spend a lot of time learning, but they don't really feel more confident. So usually what happens is they're spending more time learning, and they increase their passive vocabulary, and they can understand things like, maybe you can understand what I'm saying in this video, but you can't speak the same way I do. And the reason is, like, you're making more, basically spending more time, but staying at the same level of progress, because you're not really understanding the language better. So what actually happens when you develop fluency is it's more like a kind of staircase like this. So you spend time with you're just kind of moving forward in time until you get an aha moment, and the aha moment is what allows you to move up to the next level. And an aha moment just means you understood something that you did not understand before. And so now, like, oh, the language makes more sense, I feel more confident about using it, and that's when you start speaking. Okay, so even just using the example of fall, so if I have this marker right here, so we're going to contrast, like, fall down. Very simple. You can see this right here, fall down, versus fall over. So something is standing like this, and it falls over, like fall over. Okay, so this is fall down, and fall over. Now the purpose of this is to give you an aha moment. I call this a fluency trigger. It gives you an aha moment, which actually moves you up into fluency, because you're feeling more confident because you understand something better. Okay, and so if you understand something, well, great, you can move on to the next word or phrase or whatever, and this is how you continue to move up as you learn more. So if you feel like you're on, like, a plateau is kind of like a mountain. It goes up and it just goes across like that, a plateau. So if you feel like you're not making more progress, you need to get more aha moments. You need to understand the language better. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So let's give you some examples. I just gave you one with fall down, but let's look at some different uses of fall. Again, I want to take a simple word like fall, because many people think they learn a word like fall and then they're finished. Okay, I understand, like, something falls, but do you really understand it? Can you really use it in a lot of different situations? Let's find out. So instead of trying to, again, repeat the word, we want to open different doors and think about what are some different angles that might help us understand the word better. So we want to get different examples of the word, and that will help us understand the word better as opposed to simply repeating it, okay? So let's begin. We've got something simple like fall. Let's just say we have falling snow. Now that's pretty easy. You probably know that usage of falling snow. So we've got falling snow, or maybe a falling rock, or a falling rain, or a person could maybe fall down some stairs. We could do fall down, same idea. Now, fall down is an interesting phrasal verb because fall already means you're going down. But often we will put these like someone fell down, like they're just kind of falling like that. But again, even though falling means something is moving in a downward direction. But the interesting thing, like looking at a word like fall, we can also compare this with a word like descend. So when you hear a word like this, when you understand words like a native, you understand different nuances or slight nuances between vocabulary, something like falling and something like descending. So to descend versus fall. So if something is falling, like this marker right here, we'll just have an example of falling. It's falling. Or descending. Okay? See the difference? We've got fall, descend. So when you look at those two things, looking at fall just by itself, it's a little bit more difficult to understand. But if you look at it compared with something else, again, that's what we have these different doors for, to try to understand things with different angles. So we get that aha moment. So when we think about the word fall, it means going down, but also in like an uncontrolled way. Okay, that's an important part of the idea here. So falling snow, falling rock, falling rain, somebody falls down, you're moving down quickly, but it's uncontrolled. That's why we don't fall down in an elevator. I mean, if the elevator actually fell down, that would be, you know, some real trouble right there. All right, but we have fall down and then descend. So the elevator might descend and ascend, but it's not falling down. Okay, see the difference? Now, once we have some better understanding, now we feel a little bit more confident about understanding what fall means. We can begin extending this, opening up even more doors, so getting a variety of examples. Okay, so we want not just to repeat the word fall over and over and over in a flashcard. We want to get different examples of it to really help us understand. Okay, so we've got things like falling snow, falling rock, falling rain, to fall down. We can have something now a bit more figurative, like a falling price. All right, so instead of a physical thing you can touch, like this marker, we can see it moving down. It's uncontrolled, so there's nothing stopping it or making it move down slowly. We've got a falling price. So a falling price would be like this, like we got a price going down. If you look at prices in the stock market, so a company might be valued up here one day, and then the next day, oh no, something bad happened to the company, and the price fell. Okay, so if you listen to people talking about stock prices, or even just prices at your local grocery store, it's the same idea. So if we have, for example, a price that's like this, we would probably say that's maybe going down. It's not fall because it's not moving like straight down, and it's not like uncontrolled. It looks like, you know, there's a little bit of pressure to put it back up, but then more pressure to put it back down again. So it's not falling down, it's going down. Okay. Now, somebody might say the price is falling, but typically if we're going to compare that with this one, like, whoa, now that price is much worse. This one is actually, it looks like it's really falling down, or you could have even something that's just, wow, going straight down like that. That thing is really falling down. All right. So the price of the thing is falling rather than just going down. You see the difference? All right. So it's important when we're looking at these things, we want to look at not just the word by itself, we want to compare it with other things. We want to really understand that word better, which helps us use that thing, feel more confident about it, so we use it fluently. Okay? So the understanding is what allows you to feel confident that you'll say something correctly, and that's when you speak. All right, so we don't practice repeating something. We don't learn the word fall and then maybe get a translation or a definition of it and then just repeat that and try to say that, fall, fall, fall. I'm going to talk with my, talk to myself in the mirror or something and just repeat that word. It's much better. It's a better use of my time if I get a whole bunch of examples. Okay? So let's continue. I'll go back and check chat in just a minute, but I want to make sure this is clear. We're going to extend this even further, give you some more examples. All right, but let me know if this makes sense. Do click the like button if you are enjoying this and this makes sense, so YouTube can tell other people, hey, you should come watch this video. All right, so we've got still some pretty simple things like here, falling down. Now we're going to extend this a little bit more. I'll erase these examples. Now, if you can imagine like a holiday, so let's say we have our basic, we'll just say this is like a calendar here. I'm not going to draw the whole thing, but this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And let's say in this year, so 2024, and what month is it? July. So July 2024, or 2024. I don't know what day is it actually? It's Monday in Japan right now. And let's say on this day, this day, just for example, is Halloween. All right, so imagine that's our little pumpkin over here, a jack-o'-lantern. So a jack-o'-lantern is a pumpkin with a face. Usually we put a candle inside a jack-o'-lantern. A jack-o'-lantern. And so we can say, let's, for example, Halloween falls on. So again, we've got that word fall. So Halloween falls on a Monday in July in 2024. Okay, it doesn't really, today is not actually Halloween, but we don't know maybe what day something is falling on. And so we think of this same idea of falling on a particular day, like it's coming down, it's landing on this day, it happens on this day, and so we can say like Christmas falls on this day, or whatever, falls on a particular day. Okay, so it falls on whatever day, or it falls on a Monday, or it falls on Thursday, or falls on whatever. Okay, so you can use that for the day or the date, like falls on September 28th, for example. All right. But we can use this same idea because it's kind of like a surprise. So it's falling like, oh, look, Halloween. It's like kind of surprising. Halloween falls on a Friday this year, or falls on a Tuesday or something this year. The same idea. All right. Again, I'm keeping an eye on chat. I want to get through this, and then I'll go back and answer these questions. But let me know if this makes sense. So this is another way you can use fall. So like my appointment falls on a Thursday, something like that. Or something falls on a particular day. So we've got that idea of something like, it's kind of surprising. It seems almost uncontrolled. We don't know when it's going to happen. And boom, look at that. It fell on this day. So often people will be surprised. Oh, look at that. Like Halloween falls on a Tuesday this year. Okay, Halloween falls on a Tuesday this year. All right, or my birthday is on a Friday or something. It falls on a Friday. All right. Now, same idea. We're taking fall. We've got that kind of quick movement, uncontrolled. We can also use this when we're talking about work. All right. So let's say I want to be a doctor. So this is me. I'm in school. This is my little stethoscope right here. A stethoscope. So I want to be a doctor. This is like that old doctor, reflector helmet thing, little headband. So I want to be a doctor, but I did not become a doctor. I fell into a different job. So I fell into my career as an animal trainer. Okay, so I fell into whatever job I'm in. So when we hear someone talking about falling into a particular job. Again, that same idea, something is kind of moving down. It's unexpected, uncontrolled. We didn't anticipate it, okay? So I fell into, oh, look at that. I kind of fell into, like I was walking and I fell into a hole, the same idea. So if someone is walking up here, there's a hole right here. They're not looking, oh no, and they fall into a hole. Just like you can fall into a job. When you get it accidentally, it's unexpected, it's surprising in some way. So I thought I would be a doctor, but I fell into this other career or this other kind of work. Okay? Pretty simple. So you're starting to see how this works. Like as we get more examples, we feel more confident about the way a word works, and we can see how we can actually use this in many different ways. That's the whole point of getting all of these different examples, to give you more aha moments. Like, all right, and Canero right here, to fall in love is the same thing. Now, why do you think we would call it falling in love? Well, again, it's the same idea of like, it's kind of an uncontrolled, surprising, happening thing. So we don't talk about really like getting. Nobody talks about getting in love. Like I got in love. All right, we fall in love. So I can't really get in love. I mean, maybe you could kind of trick yourself or something, but the point of falling in love is that it's uncontrolled. You don't really know what's going to happen. It's a surprising thing. You don't have 100% control over that. You just feel a certain way, so we fall in love. All right, but as you understand why we use one word and not another word, you should feel that aha moment of like that same thing. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. Now, I want to give a few more examples of this, but just kind of extend this a little bit more. Now, if we take when we get like a kind of longer phrase, even if you don't quite understand everything, hopefully you'll get it from the situation. So far I've given you some different uses of fall, and you should be feeling more confident about understanding fall. Okay, if I've done my job correctly, you should feel that aha moment as you learn these new things. So here's a phrase that's commonly used for, we'll talk about the situation first, but let me just write this down here, fall through. To fall through the cracks, to fall through the cracks. Now what does that mean? And this is C-R-A-C-K-S, cracks, to fall through the cracks. And so when we have something like falling through the cracks, we can get a physical idea. Imagine you're maybe looking down, like you can see my hand, like this. Imagine this is a floor, so you're looking at it from the top here, but my hand would be like this. But I can see right here we have, it looks like little spaces in between my fingers. Look at that. So these fingers, you could think about them like fingers or spaces on a wood floor, where maybe there would be some little places, little open areas between the wood. So these would be little cracks in the floor. Okay, so just like I have little spaces in between my fingers, if I have some water in my hand, the water is going to fall through. I'll catch some of the water, so I will hold some of the water in my hand, but some of the water will fall through the cracks. Okay, so to fall through the cracks or the little spaces in my hand. So this is the physical use of physical understanding, the origin of this phrase when we talk about something falling through the cracks, falling through the cracks. And when we talk about falling through the cracks, we mean that like some like little information or something was lost or something was not done. And usually you will hear this like, oh no, I was trying to do many things at work, and I'm sorry, some things fell through the cracks. All right, so I did most of the work, like I could catch most of the work, I did most of it, but I forgot to do some things. Maybe there was just too much information or too many things I had to remember, and I'm sorry, some things just fell through the cracks. Some things fell through the cracks. Some things fell through the cracks. So if I'm busy or I'm not really thinking so much about something, I could make a mistake and forget something, or maybe forget to do something. And that's why something might fall through the cracks. So let's say you learn an expression like this in just an English class, so like what you're doing right now, something falls through the cracks. The point is not really to just remember the words, it's to understand the situation. That way you can apply it to other situations. Okay, so I can talk about something falling through the cracks at work. I can talk about falling through the cracks, like maybe I forget my wife's birthday. So I remembered to do 10 other things, but oh no, I'm sorry, that fell through the cracks. So that would be, she would probably be disappointed about that. But again, you can really use this phrase anytime you have some information that's forgotten or lost or just something. So maybe you did some of it, or you even did most of that thing, but some of that fell through the cracks. All right. So we can also talk about maybe children. So we're teaching lots of children in a class, and as we're teaching these children, a lot of the children are learning a lot of information, but maybe some children are falling through the cracks. So some children are falling through the cracks, meaning that some children they're not learning as well, or they're not remembering things or whatever. So they are maybe falling behind the rest of the kids. They're falling behind the rest of the kids. Okay. So same idea. We're trying to take something like this and understand that the same way a native would. And we think about like little pieces of dirt or something, like if we sweep the floor, some little things are going to fall through the cracks. And we can take that idea and then apply it to many different situations. Does that make sense? All right. Now, the last thing I'm going to do with this is in the same way that we would have kind of different doors. We would have the same idea. We want to not only just learn one phrase for this, but we also want to learn different ways of expressing this information. Okay, so we have a situation like, oh no, I forgot something, or some children didn't get the best result, or something like that. There are lots of different ways we might use this. But there are other ways we could express this as well. If you can think of anything, write it in the comments, but we can also just use some simple things like, I forgot. All right, very simple, very easy. Or I missed that. So I forgot that, I missed that thing. All right, it's the same idea, but these are just different ways of expressing it. So you will hear natives in real conversations, yes, it's okay to say I forgot something. Oh no, like my wife asked me to get 10 different things from the grocery store. I got 9 of them, but I forgot one. Oh no, I'm sorry, the milk fell through the cracks. The milk fell through the cracks, so I forgot to get that one. Or I could just say, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the milk. So when I say it fell through the cracks, I'm making it sound like, oh, like it kind of wasn't my fault, So like I was thinking about this, maybe I got everything else. See, look, I got 9 other things, I just forgot the milk. So usually that will, something like that will happen. Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry, I missed the milk. I forgot the milk. Oh no, the milk fell through the cracks. The milk fell through the cracks. And so in this one, it's like the cracks of my mind or the cracks of the situation. So it's fell through the cracks. I forgot. I missed that. You can probably think of other ways to express this. But the point is, in a real conversation, you should be prepared for dynamic communication. We don't know what a native speaker is going to say. So it's a really good idea to be prepared for lots of different ways that another person might express themselves. Now for you as a person, like just using the language, you can pick one thing. Oh, I forgot, I missed something. Or you can say like, I fell through the cracks, or something, some information fell through the cracks, or that did not get done, it fell through the cracks. But when, even if you choose maybe one thing and you use that often, that's fine, but you should be prepared for other things. So I'll give you yet another one of these expressions here. It slipped. It slipped through the net. Slipped through the net. Now, fall through the cracks and slip through the net are basically the same idea, and we can think about how something like that would apply physically first, just to understand the expression. So, oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot to get milk. That's slipped through the net. That slipped through the net. Now, why do we say this? What does this mean? You can imagine like a fishing net, and we have the net like the size of the little squares in the net. The size of those squares is important. So if we have a fish that's this big, and pardon my bad drawing of a fish here, but if we try to catch a fish this big, we will catch that fish because it can't slip through the net. It can't just like swim through these little holes over here. All right? So a larger fish cannot slip through the net. So to slip through means like to kind of just swim through it very quickly. But if we have a smaller fish, that fish can easily slip through the net. Look at that. It can just swim right through the net. It's just going right through. It slips right through the net. So to slip through, like we're just going very quickly inside, just like I slipped through like a small space in a wall to slip through. All right, so very quickly, nice and easily, I get through some particular space. So same idea, just like we have little cracks or little holes in a floor, we've got holes in a net. And so it's going to catch some things. Maybe we're just trying to catch these bigger fish. We don't want to catch these small fish over here. Okay, so we will catch these ones, but these little fish will slip through the net. Now, sometimes we have slip through the net, again, meaning like we actually wanted to do that. I want to catch both of these fish, but I'm sorry, unfortunately, that one slipped through the net. Okay. So another explanation similar to this is like to slip my mind. Like you kind of forgot about something. Oh, I was supposed to have a meeting today, but it slipped my mind. I forgot about it, or I was thinking about something else. I got busy and oh no, I didn't remember that particular thing. So to slip my mind. It gave me the slip. It gave me the slip. It like snuck away very quickly. All right? So there are more. I could go on and keep like giving you lots of different expressions for this kind of thing. But the point is we're connecting these with a situation. This is how natives think about vocabulary. So we have a situation, something is happening, like, oh no, I forgot something. So what are the words that a native might connect with that? Like, oh, I fell through the cracks, or some information fell through the cracks. All right. Oh no, it slipped through the net. I'm sorry about that. Or I just forgot. I missed that. Okay. So when you're thinking about learning things the same way a native does, what I call learning English as a first language, you're trying to learn the real vocabulary natives use, but you also want to learn it the same way natives learn it. If you just get a list of vocabulary, but you don't really understand that, you're not going to feel confident using it. Okay? So, fall through the cracks, I forgot, missed that, slipped through the cracks, something slipped my mind. These are all very fine ways of saying I forgot something or something didn't get done. Okay. But it's like a little bit not my fault. All right. So I tried. I did a good job. I caught most of these other fish over here, but I'm sorry I didn't catch that little one also. Okay. So it slipped through the cracks. It fell through the cracks. You can say both of those, like to slip through or to fall through, or you can just say it slipped through a net. Typically, we don't talk about like falling through a net. I mean, usually when we think about catching fish, we're kind of maybe moving the net this way, and the fish can just kind of swim through. You can't really like fall in the water, I guess. But you understand the idea. Are there any questions about this? I will go back and check chat now, but hopefully this makes sense. Actually, one last thing. Before I do that, as I mentioned before about getting these different aha moments about things, another way to improve your pronunciation is you actually take the same expression or the same vocabulary and then you hear that spoken by different people. Okay? So remember, in real communication, when you were young, when you were learning your native language, you heard lots of different people saying the same thing. Maybe you heard hello in 100 different ways. Like it could have been maybe slightly different vocabulary, but people are pronouncing things a little bit different. Okay, so each person sounds unique. And as you hear all of those things, that's what gives you a strong understanding of what you should sound like. If you only listen to one person or one teacher, you're going to try to sound like that person. And especially if you learn with a teacher, you're thinking, okay, I need to sound like, I want to have perfect English and I want to sound like this, but I'm just one voice. And that's why, like in Fluent for Life, we give you many, many different native speakers that also give you examples of how to speak. All right. So the point is, in real life, you should be learning that same way. You should be getting many different examples. That those different examples, it's another way to think about those different doors. So if you open the same door over and over and over again, you're going to hear the same pronunciation over and over and over again. But if you listen to different people, like opening different doors, then you will really get a strong sense of how to say something, because, okay, now like each time you hear a new person, your pronunciation gets, your pronunciation and your listening get a little bit stronger. You feel more confident about how to say something, because it's not like one exact way you need to say something. There's a kind of a range, and you can find what's a good way to say something for you. And in the same way that many natives each have their own unique voice, you will have your own unique English voice too. All right. But if you listen to more native examples, it will sound more like a native speaker rather than you having some kind of accent, like maybe you don't want to have an accent or you want to improve your pronunciation. It's much easier to do that by getting these same kinds of angles. All right. So today we've taken one word, we focused on one word, really trying to help you understand how to use it, what it really means, different situations you can use it in, and hopefully as we're going through this, you should be feeling some aha moments like, oh, look at that, I didn't know you could use the word that way, or that's an interesting expression. All right. And as you continue to do this, that's how you develop fluency. So the fluency develops as you understand the language better, not as you repeat things to yourself or others. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, let me go back and check chat, but that's just a really quick example of how you can become more fluent very quickly by getting aha moments faster. The faster you get those aha moments, the faster you become fluent. All right, so fluency it's not like how long did it take you to become fluent, it's like how quickly could you get aha moments. And if you're trying to do it by yourself, that's how you would do it. You would try to get many examples and many different examples in your everyday life, however you're doing that. But if you don't understand one example, don't try to repeat it. Try to get something different. Look at it from a different perspective, or try to get a different example of, like, maybe you're just looking up in ChatGPT or in Google, like, different uses of the word fall. And as you get those different uses, you should feel much more confident and maybe feeling more like you understand the core meaning of a word like fall. Okay, so words typically have a few important meanings, and fall is usually we're kind of moving down, something quickly like that, but it's also uncontrolled in some way. That's why we fall in love rather than get in love. All right. It's hard to get in love. It's hard to make yourself love someone you don't love. That's why we fall in love. Okay. All right. Let's go back and check chat, see if people have any questions. All right. Let's see. Algie, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and let me know. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing your name. Nona from Saudi Arabia. Tsubasa, nice to see you there. No DAP today. I guess it's too hot for a DAP from Tsubasa. Renee says, greetings from Brazil. Mariah says, hi. Wicked Vlogger, fall versus fail. I don't know if that's asking about pronunciation or if you're talking about the actual difference between those two words. I don't want to cover that in a lot of detail, but if you're asking about pronunciation, this is the kind of thing we cover in Frederick. You can click on the link below this video to learn more about that, but this is an app that lets you compare the pronunciations of things like fall versus fail, fall, fail. Fall and fail. So here the pronunciation is A-L-L, and here we have A-I. That's a long A sound. Usually we say when two vowels go walking, the first vowel does the talking. All right, that's a pretty quick way to remember this. This rule often applies, not always, but usually it does. So F-A-I-L, fail, instead of fall. All right, let's keep it moving. All right. Let's see. H. Ray says, good morning from Osaka. Nice to see you there. Lauren says, hi, Drew, the best teacher that I've ever seen. Well, you are too kind. If you know other people who would enjoy this video, please share it. Click the like button and tell them, hey, come watch the video. Verdun says, very nice video. Glad to hear it. Truth Trove, hello, sir. DT with the American flag, the Algerian flag there from Nasir. Rogerio says, greetings from Brazil. Sin says, hail. Grade teacher says Avi and Nasir, Brazil. And Ermila says hi. Imane says hello. Jerema says hi, teacher. Excellent explanation and examples. Glad to hear it. Let's see. La Intriga says from Egypt. I want to thank you. Without your video, I wouldn't improve my English grammar and accent. Thanks. It's my pleasure. Can we say the prices drive up? Now, typically when we talk about driving, like driving is another word you can look at in detail, like the word fall, like any word. So when we talk about drive, I think it's a good time to, I guess a good moment to explain that. Because it's another good example of people thinking they know what something means, but not really knowing it like a native speaker. So when people talk about drive, like the word drive, this is another seemingly simple word like fall. But if you get more varied examples of it, then you should be able to understand it better, and then you'll know how to use an example like the one you did. So driving, people typically talk about like driving a car. So that's the simple, typical, here's a little steering wheel and a person driving a car and got their hands on the wheel over here. So when you're driving a car, you're pushing the car forward. That's what it means to drive something. So it seems like a weird idea because we are inside the car and moving it forward at the same time. But we can also talk about pushing something else. Like we have often I'm not going to draw this very well, but we have like a bunch of cows over here. Oh man, I'm trying to draw like a bunch of cows. All right, these are supposed to be cows over here. So like the horns on a cow, you know. And then we have a cowboy. So here's a cowboy hat and he's looking and he's trying to push the cows or the cattle that way. So he is driving the cattle, okay? So when we talk about pushing something forward, that's really what we mean when we talk about drive. So we can talk about driving a car, just like we're sitting in the car, we're pushing it forward, or we can talk about driving cattle, or we can talk about like what is the motivation for something. Like my motivation, like what is like the drive that's pushing you to do something. Yeah, so these are supposed to be, you know, it's like a cow, you know. Like, so we have the like the head and the horns up here. I'm just drawing it very quickly. Yeah, that's a cow, you know. There we go, a cow. So I'm trying to draw this very quickly, but we can express this same idea. Well, some cows, I guess you're right. No, I think, yeah, some cows, don't some cows have horns? Some of them do, I think so. But anyway, like the idea, there could maybe be some bulls in there too, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. You understand what I mean. So to drive something means to push it forward. So we can talk about like what's driving prices, P-R-I-C-E-S. So what's driving prices up? Or driving prices down, or driving this, or what drives you as a person? What drives you to teach? What drives you to be a doctor? What drives you to go to school? What drives you in the gym? So all of these things, it's about pushing something forward, moving it in a certain direction, not just driving a car. Okay? So again, I want to make this point clear. I don't want to spend time going over a bunch of different words, but the point is it's another really good, simple example of you probably don't know things as well as you think you do, all right? And that's what stops you from speaking, all right? So again, to drive someone crazy, like Bruno is saying right here, the same thing, I'm pushing them to drive someone crazy. Now, each word might not have that like one core meaning, but you can get the idea as you see more examples of the vocabulary, varied examples. That's why I call this naturally varied review. The point here is like you're getting lots of different examples of something, and that's what helps you understand the vocabulary better. All right? I think that's a pretty good cow. Man, some cows have horns. Let me Google that right quick. Somebody Google that. Let's see, do cows have horns? Look at that as the first thing. Let's see here. Almost all cattle are born with the ability to grow horns. Even cows. Look at that. Look at that. See, some cows do have them. I'm not going to read. Most of the time, farmers will remove the horns on their cows to prevent any accidents. Look at that. An aha moment. All right? An aha moment. So if you're a farmer, I am not a farmer, so I don't know much about cows, but cows, I guess, have horns, and then maybe the farmers will cut them off to make sure they're not causing any trouble. An aha moment. Look at that. Tom's getting it. So aha moments are not just about language, but that's the way when you learn something and you understand something, it's the feeling you get, now I understand something. All right, that's what we're looking for with language learning. The point is not to take a word and repeat it over and over and over again or to get a translation of it. It's to really understand what the word means, because when you understand it, that's when you feel confident about using it. All right, look at all this proof that you're getting right in this video, and you learn something about cows too, an extra bonus for you guys. All right, hopefully that makes sense about drive though. So we're talking about what moves prices up. And you can talk about prices. You wouldn't say like the price itself is driving. It's like something is pushing the price, because the price is reacting to other people. So the price is like maybe everybody really wants some stock or whatever. So that's driving the price higher. So it's pushing that thing around. That's what drives something, to move it or to push it or to motivate it in some way, to drive the price up or to drive the price down. Oh no, we got a lot of comments to go through. I'm trying to go through these quickly. That was a bit of an explanation, but I thought it was worth going over that. Yanisel says, hello teacher, I'm glad to see you. Adenilso says, Adenilso. If I'm not pronouncing this, let me know. From Brazil, I'm inspired by you. I'm using your EFL to teach here in Brazil. Great way to improve the learning. Glad to hear it. Yes, I recommend everyone do this. So you really want to help people understand English as a first language. That means really giving them the real vocabulary that natives are using. You're also trying to help them understand it all in English. All right, just like I'm doing here, help them understand all in English. And we do that with naturally varied review, because we really want to help people not just repeat things, but understand them by getting lots of different examples. Richard says, what's the difference between the phrases fall down and fall off? Typically fall down is like if you're just maybe like on a particular place, like you can imagine a person and then they just kind of fall down, so falling. But if you fall off, usually you're on a particular thing, and we're talking about falling that way. So something might fall off of a shelf or fall off something else. Let's see. I'm guessing. I don't know. Is that Tatiana? I don't know if I'm not saying that. I can't read the Cyrillic anyway. From Yakutsk, the world's biggest city in the permafrost. Nevertheless, it's plus 30 degrees over here. Oh my goodness. Sorry, where is? Oh, that's in Russia, I believe. Bear chances how to say, I don't know what that is. Is that Chinese? I don't know if that's Chinese or Japanese. Let me know what you're trying to say. Siberia, Russia, JP says, thank you very much. It is an excellent explanation. Glad to hear it, says JP. Many aha moments today. Yes, that's the whole point. So welcome. You guys are talking with each other. Mama says, you are the best. Very cold in winter. I can understand all you say, but I can't speak like you. Give me an advice. So here we would just say, give me advice. Give me advice. So this whole video is really advice for you. So advice is uncountable. So we would say, give me advice, or you can say, give me a piece of advice, or give me some advice. All right. But the advice is to understand more vocabulary like a native. So you have to destroy the doubt that stops you from speaking. That's how you get fluent. All right, and saying I'm the best, I'm guessing, but thank you very much. If you know other people who would enjoy the video, please share it. Let's see, Minori says, good morning, teacher. Good to see you. Dennis says, what is the right way to teach English for foreign language learners? You teach them English as a first language, the same way native parents would teach their own kids. All right, but the benefit of being a language teacher is you can control how well people learn by how quickly they get aha moments. All right, so you don't have to spend a long time getting fluent. The point is really to get lots of aha moments as quickly as possible, because that's when you're feeling, oh, I really understand something. That's when you feel confident using it. So there's very little practice you need if you're spending most of your time just understanding the vocabulary. All right, and of course, let's see, YouTube chat is scrolling up here. Knero says, in Armenian, we have an expression, fall in fire, meaning being in trouble. Is there a similar expression in English with the word fall? I mean, you could say like he fell into a trap or fell into trouble. You could say that. Or, I mean, I guess you could say like he like fell in the fire or something. You could say that. People would understand what you mean by that. So even if something might not be a textbook or standard expression, people will understand what you mean. Like, oh no, he really fell in the fire, or he fell into a trap, or he fell and in that way you could use it that way. Patricia says, hello, in Brazil. I'm sorry I'm late. Ohio gozaimasu is Mr. Tom. Let's see. And Sita says, hey, Drew. Oh, the manager is back. The absentee manager. Long time no see. Hopefully everything is fine there around here. Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Everything is fine. I know everything's always fine in Brazil. It's just like a nice, like sunny place over there. Andre, let's see. Hi, everyone. This is the best teaching English channel. I'm from Brazil, living in the U.S. The channel helping me a lot to get fluent in English. Glad to hear it. All right. Have you ever been think to learn Japanese? Says Gabriel. Yeah, I speak Japanese. So all the techniques and the things that I teach are what I discovered from learning Japanese. So I speak, if you have any questions about that. I don't really teach Japanese, but I will use Japanese examples in videos sometimes. Sammy says, hi, everybody from Yemen. Hello, aha moments. Oh, look at that. Eunice is back. All right, let's see. You guide us to listen to different English speakers to become fluent. Does it also help us to listen to British speakers? Yes, and especially I would begin with the kind of English you need to speak for your life. So if you live in the United Kingdom or you hear lots of British speakers, wherever that is, I mean, you could be living anywhere and maybe live around a bunch of British speakers. Focus on that first. But even in Fluent for Life, we have people listen to British speakers, Canadian English, Australian English, New Zealand English. We want you to hear lots of different speakers from different parts of the world because you will hear them in movies or TV shows or whatever. So people travel around and you will hear, like even me in my life in Japan over here, I will meet British English speakers. I have friends who are from New Zealand or from Australia and they speak a little bit differently than I do. So as I get all these different examples, it helps me understand them better, and and native English speakers are doing the same thing. So yes, I would get more examples for different kinds of things, but you can focus on the particular examples you need for your life, whatever those are. So if you live in like Alabama in the United States, in the southern United States, you should listen to people around there to really get a good feel for that. Not just one person, like one teacher, but really pay attention, listen to lots of different people speaking. It's the variety that gets you fluent and prepares you for the variety of real speech. So real communication, as I said before, is dynamic, all right? It's not like in a test where the teacher tells you what to do, you remember that, and then you have to say that thing or write it down on the test. A real communication, you don't know what's going to happen. So maybe someone does say something you expect, but oftentimes the communication is unexpected. So you have to be prepared for that. That's the whole point of learning English as a first language, all right? Let's see. See it again. Hi, Tom. Oh, you guys are talking. Let's see. Talking to each other. C says, can you give us the different situations between forget, forgot, and forgotten. That would be a subject for a different video. I don't want to go into different grammar in that way, but you would look at grammar in the same way, getting these different examples by focusing on the situation. So you talk about like I forgot something, or I will forget something tomorrow, or I forgot something yesterday, or I had forgotten. But rather than trying to explain all of those different things and do like I just did with this, so that's the kind of thing we do in Fluent for Life. We take you through vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, all of that, and we do it with lots of naturally varied review. But yes, it would work in the same way. At the airport says, do you think English tend to use more metaphors or descriptive expressions compared to Japanese in daily conversation? I think it depends on who you're speaking with and how good their language ability is. So you could, people that know a lot, maybe more, not necessarily educated, but more knowledgeable, so they maybe have a larger vocabulary. And they enjoy talking about movies and things like that. It depends on the situation. I think in my experience, people speaking with me in Japanese, people have been maybe, I don't know, kind of like literal. They will use, expressions and things from movies and TV shows, but it's not like literary in the same way maybe English would be. But I don't know. I'm just one person, and so it's hard to say about the language in general. But I mean, I know Japanese pretty well, but if you had a bunch of Japanese professors sitting and talking with each other, or maybe some poets, maybe you would have a different kind of experience. They would talk about things in that way. But daily communication is usually pretty straightforward, in my experience. But that could also be maybe because they expect me to know less, so they're speaking in a different way. But even when I sit and listen just to Japanese people talking, I'm just kind of spying on people, I will hear them saying, just straightforward kinds of things. They're not maybe using as many metaphors or things like that, maybe in English. I don't know. I don't have enough sample size. That's an interesting question, though. Let's see. Patricia says, I agree. Oh, you guys are talking with each other. Eunice says, fall apart means break up. Yeah, so fall apart, I mean, when we think about something falling apart, your clothing could fall apart over time. So right now you can see the seam in my shirt, over time it gets torn, it starts falling apart, and the sleeve maybe falls off. Okay, so something falls apart, it means it kind of disconnects or gets worse over time and things separate. So breaking up is a similar kind of idea. But typically breaking up is people are more, if you hear two people talking about a relationship and they say, oh, the relationship fell apart, it usually means over time it got worse. But if we broke up, to break is a more, if I take this marker and break it, it's a more quick happening right now, all at the same time kind of expression. So we break up a relationship or we break something off, we're doing that right now. All right, so it's a little bit different, but it's a similar idea. Okay, here. Let's see. Where did I? Damn you, YouTube. Okay, here we go. All right, thanks, Tom. Drew is the one on teaching. Glad to hear. Yes, Sita, the manager. Yes, get them in line. Here we go. Patricia, I've learned a lot with him. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear people are improving. Paris says, hi, everyone. I'm from Iran, but living in Melbourne. Again, this is another example. You could have somebody from one country living in another, just like we have Americans who live in China or Britain and British speakers who live in Taiwan or whatever. There's different people all over the place. That's why it's a good idea to get a variety of different speakers, and especially native speakers speaking normally, not just people in regular, an English teacher or something. That's going to get you to kind of a lower level of understanding. Let's see. Greetings from Brazil, says the toy. Adele says, hello. Thanks for all. I'm guessing that's what that means. Let's see. Okay, you guys are talking to each other. I think nice sunny beach. Yeah, it sounds nice over there. It's really hot in Japan. Crazy hot. We finished the rainy season, I guess. And now we have some comments about people not liking my cow pictures. Let's see. Zeneb says, hello from Algeria. I'm late. What does aha moments mean? Never heard of that. So an aha moment it's just the term for when you realize something or you understand something. And this is not just for language learning, but the point is when you see something and finally something becomes clear to you, you think, okay, like aha, like that's what we say in English. So we can call that like an aha moment. In Japanese, it would be like naruhodo. Naruhodo ne. So you notice something, you discover something like wakaru ne, naruhodo ne. So you understand something, you feel more confident because you understand something. All right. So the opposite of that is doubt, and doubt is what stops people from speaking. So rather than trying to study more, your goal really is to try to eliminate doubt as quickly as possible, and that's how you become a fluent speaker faster. All right, let's see here. Thomas says, hi, greetings from Argentina. Could you explain what are the situations where it's proper to use the gerund form of the verb? Yeah, I'm definitely not going to go into that in this video, but I have talked about that. I'm pretty sure we cover that in other YouTube videos, but we definitely do in Fluent for Life. So if you'd like to learn more about like specific examples and see lots of those, again, rather than getting a definition or an explanation about grammar, it's better to just see many, many, many examples. And that's what gives you what we call a sense of how to use grammar correctly. So many people understand the rules, and even if I told you like, oh, just do this and this, that's the actual rule for it, you can see I'm spending a lot of time trying to take even one word or two words and really show you what they mean by giving you lots of examples. So we don't want to just give you a definition. You should spend the time to try to really understand those things. And as you do that with grammar, it becomes a lot easier to understand. So I recommend searching for those specific things on our channel, or you'll just find them all in Fluent for Life. Let's see. Well, look at that. I think let me know if that's is that Tatiana? Is that that name? I'm trying to teach myself some. I think I've told you all before the story of how I taught myself some Korean. Did I tell you that story before? I think I have. Let me know. I'll tell it to you again if you're curious. But it's a similar kind of thing I'm trying to do when you're trying to get those aha moments. If you make it like a game, then you feel much more confident when you understand something, rather than a teacher just telling you what the answer is. And Rayanesh says, what is the correct way to use ought? Well, you ought to look that up. You ought to. You should. That's a good idea. And again, better than giving one example or one definition of something, get many of them. All right? I don't want to spend time in this video. We're already going over an hour, but just do the same kind of thing. So if there's something that you're unclear about what it means, get lots of examples. All right? You will feel much more confident. Adele says, hello from Paris. Mustafa says, hello, sir. Wish you are doing nice. So I'd say, how are you doing? Or hope you are doing well. Doing all right. Let's see. Pauline says, hello from Chile. And look at that. Lots of folks from South America represented here. Patricio says, thank you, Drew. Time for me to sleep. Watch it later. Let's see. Hello from maybe that means Algeria, I guess. Amara. So he says, cow may have horn on their body as humans as a tail, but it would I see that's an interesting point there. Nima says, hi. Lahomi says, from Haiti. Hi from Haiti. All right. And Tanya from New Zealand. Look at that. You don't have to keep holding the camera. It sounds fixed. You can use both hands. No, I'm not holding the camera. I'm scrolling through the chat. That's what I'm doing with my hand. All right, what is the best way to learn English as soon as possible? I just gave you an example of it. You need to get aha moments as quickly as possible. The point is, if you know a lot of English but still don't speak, it's because you have doubts about the language. It's doubts about pronunciation, grammar, whatever, so you have to destroy those doubts, all right? You don't have to learn more. You have to destroy the doubts about the vocabulary you already know. So that's why you don't really have to learn new vocabulary, but you should understand it better. Okay, so as I've explained in previous videos, we go through these different stages of understanding as we learn more and we get more aha moments. All right, so we begin with just hearing something for the first time. This is exposure, so you're just getting it. You read some vocabulary, you hear it somewhere, and then we want to go to awareness, where we keep hearing more examples, and now we feel a little bit more confident. We can understand it when others are saying, but maybe we still don't have the confidence to use it ourselves. But as we destroy the doubt, as we get more examples that really help us understand something, then we move to ownership, and that's where we really feel like we understand something very well, and we'll use it fluently. So most people, if they don't feel confident about saying something, then they won't use that vocabulary. They might say something else, or they might just not speak. But most people, if they understand things but don't speak, that's the real problem. It's the doubt that stops you from speaking. So you don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You don't need to be having a particular teacher or whatever. You just need to destroy the doubt. So make sure you've understood something well, and then you will use it fluently. All right, Peace Lover says, I've been following you for almost 12 years now. Really appreciate your teaching. Wow, 12 years. Oh, my goodness. Well, if you know other people that would enjoy this, let them know. Looks like some Thai there. Hello, thanks for everything from Thailand. Antonio says, which language do you and your wife speak every day? I usually use English at home because that's the main chance that my kids get to hear English. So even if I'm just talking with my wife, especially like if I'm in front of my kids, I will usually speak in English. But if it's if my children are not around, then I will use maybe more Japanese, but sometimes I will speak in English. And sometimes we have those typical conversations where like I will speak in English and she will speak in Japanese, and it's just like faster to get the information out that way. But it's a mix. It usually depends on the situation though. Good evening, everyone from Rio. More people from Rio, says Andre. Wakarimashita, says Tom. Adile says, good morning from India. I would like to improve my fluency in English. Please tell me about the fluency course. Well, if you'd like to learn more about Fluent for Life, you can click on the link in the description to learn about that. The things that we talk about in this video, I've basically given you one example of one word in this video, just to prove to you that you can actually become a more confident speaker, even if you don't speak. All right, so you become fluent by understanding and feeling more confident, and then you speak. All right, that's how the process really works. And so what we do in Fluent for Life is actually go through all of these different examples. You get to choose what you learn, and then I just get you fluent by helping you understand the vocabulary. All right, so it's my job to get you fluent, because I'm not just giving you some vocabulary and then telling you to remember it or understand it by yourself. I get you fluent. So I know how to teach to make the language understandable, so I can give you aha moments. You can certainly do this by yourself if you'd like, but I've been doing this 20 years and I'm pretty good at doing that. And if you'd like me to do it for you, it's much faster. All right, Antonio says, there is something happening between you and me. Our hair is going away. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I keep thinking about maybe I should shave it off. Like just like actually do like a cut, like shave it all off. But my wife is like, no. she wants me to save it, I guess, for as long as I can. Maybe I'll get a wig, you know. I don't really care, but yeah, I mean, I guess shaving is kind of a pain though. Let's see. I'm curious about how you learned some Korean. Okay, I'll tell you that story. Let me check these comments and I'll tell you that. Let's see. C says, is Yakuza still exist? You would say, do Yakuza still exist? I think so. I used to go to a bath, like a public hot spring bath, and there would be Yakuza guys in there. Yeah, they had like tattoos all over their body, and it's still a thing. Let's see. Right. Oh, it is Tatiana. Okay, you were right. All right. Yeah, I know there are different spellings of that, and then like it's like T-A-T-I, like with T-A-T-I, or if it's a Y, something like that. But thank you, Canero. Oh, Andre, you should practice your English here. Yes, again, like the practicing is just like I'm giving you the practice. That's what that means. So you could do this yourself. You could go out and find additional examples on your own, and that would help you even more. But that's what we need for practicing. I want some more aha moments, says Tom. Yes, like aha moments, they feel good because understanding feels good. And often when we're learning in a typical way, we don't understand, the language is confusing, and that's why people don't like studying languages, even though they would like to speak. So it's like a very cool thing to speak a different language. It's like, oh, wow, that person can speak, or polyglots. Like, I am not a polyglot, but I can look at those people and think, wow, that's very cool. They can speak many different languages. But it's typically, like, people figure out that you need to get those aha moments, even if they don't realize that's what they're called. But that's how you get fluent faster. That's really how you learn anything faster. Edson says, what is the correct way of saying this? Something over there, or something over there? Yeah, you could. Do you mean something over there? That's correct. You can say that, if that's what you mean. All right. Mustafa says, which state from United are you coming from, and does it affect your English accent? Yes. So where you're from, you would sound different. There are different accents in the United States. And I'm from Chicago, but I'm also from the south side of the city, and so I have like more kind of southern accent. It's just the people I grew up with. But yeah. So if I grew up in Texas, I would probably sound different, or in California, or Arizona, or wherever. Different places have different sounds. There are only two reasons for success: practice and trying. Well, I mean, you could practice and try a lot, but that doesn't guarantee success. That's my only problem with that. Now, of course, like, I think people should make an effort, but the point is not to just like to try and do something. Like if I try to learn a word like fall, so just like what we did before, so I could say I'm working hard, just repeating the flashcard over and over and over again. But is that the best work? Is that the smartest thing for me to do? Now, if I just repeat a word, if I say that, fall, is it going to help me? Probably not. Like, I might learn a little bit, maybe how to pronounce it a little bit better, but I will learn a lot more if I get various examples of the word and from various speakers. All right, it's the variety that gets you fluent. It's not just hearing one example over and over again. So I want to make it clear that yes, like, practicing is a good idea, but this is not the kind of practice that's going to get you fluent, or it will be quite difficult if you do. All right, but if you get more examples, the point is really to learn in a smart way that's going to get you to understanding faster. All right. So okay. The ambulance, yes, the ambulance is back. Pada says, hello, Drew. What is the best internet source for getting lots of examples of new words or expressions to understand them and to get confident without translating? It's harder to do this by yourself, but I would recommend starting with something simple that you can understand. So we usually begin with a situation like how to grow flowers or how to bake cookies or something like that, but you would learn it at your level. So if you are not a very good speaker or you don't know much vocabulary yet, watch videos on YouTube for children about how to do something. So children learning farming, or children learning, I don't know, like how to build an engine, or children, whatever. Like, you can take whatever that information is and you can find lower or easier content for that. You can even say like elementary school lesson about math or something like that, and just watch. Like, the content is already there. Now you could also use something like Youglish, Youglish, Youglish.com. This is where you can put in a particular word you want to know, or a phrase or something, and it will find examples of that. So this is another way to get naturally varied review if you already know the thing you're looking for. But there are lots of different ways to do this. If you watch the espresso video on my channel, I made a video that's an example of naturally varied review about a particular topic, like making espresso. And so, like, here, another example for me in Japanese, there was recently, there's a holiday, kind of like a special day in Japan called Tanabata. And it's like a story about a prince and a princess and in the stars, and the little kids, they put wishes on a bamboo tree and other little things like that. It's almost like a kind of like a Christmas story in a way, where there's like decorating a plant. But anyway, like when there's a holiday or something like that, and you go to a bookstore or a library, they might have a special setting with books about that thing. So if you read 5 kids books about a particular topic, you're going to know quite a lot about that. You're going to get many aha moments as you learn some new vocabulary. You hear that same vocabulary used again and again, but in slightly different ways. So the point is not to like find a particular place, like you could go to the library or get it online, wherever, but you want to find lots of varied examples of that thing. That's what's going to give you the aha moments that help you understand. All right. So you can do it anywhere. YouTube is a good place to start because you're getting video with it as well. Let's see. C says, who's Andrew Tate? Is he your brother? No. Wait, you guys talking to each other, I guess? Not talking about me. I'm not related to Andrew Tate. Let's see. Tom says, I prefer shaving my head, and I do like it. Huh. Maybe I will get used to it over there at some point. Let's see. Lawrence says, my little children. Ackland says, I'm late here. What do you mean, aha moments unlocking English speaking confidence? Thanks. Just to give you that explanation again, hopefully this isn't the same one, but for people asking, I do recommend you go back and watch this video to understand what an aha moment means, but it's just the feeling you get when you understand something well. So typically when you're learning a new language, it's quite confusing for people, and because you don't really understand things, you have lots of doubt. That's what stops you from speaking. So as you really understand the vocabulary better by getting lots of examples, that's what helps you feel, oh, like now I understand that thing. So we call that an aha moment when you discover something. It's like when you watch a mystery TV show and you discover who did it. You're like, that guy did it, you know. So that's an aha moment. Aha, now I got you. All right, so it's just a moment of understanding, and the more you get those, the faster you get fluent. Nico says, hey, I have a problem. I have to translate many things in English and can't understand the grammar. How could I fix that? Well, I don't know why you have to translate things, or if you have to translate something for work, but if you're just trying to learn how grammar works, I would just get examples of the grammar in action. So people talking about things in a certain tense or talking about things in a certain way. It just depends on the particular grammar. But the more you understand it like a native, the faster you get fluent. Lawrence says, excuse me, Drew. I don't know if you guys are talking with each other or not. Vincent says, Vincent from South Africa. Morning, my guy, is an early hour here. I'm learning new things every time from you. That makes me to be a confident speaker. Glad to hear it. So he says, if I say aha moment, it could mean I have nothing to say next. Well, if you're talking about using that in a conversation, do you mean if I say aha moment? Well, if you're in a conversation and someone is explaining something to you and then you understand, like, that's just what it means. It's like, okay, I understand what's happening now. Aha. But you feel it. You actually feel like a good feeling when that happens, because now you're understanding something. And doubt, so doubt is the opposite. Doubt makes you feel nervous. So if we destroy the doubt, then you will feel confident. It's pretty easy. All right, Mustafa says, can you tell us more about your English learning method? Because I saw Andy talking about teaching your daughter the word harsh and its various meanings, and I think it's a smart way to increase. Yes, Mustafa, that's what I'm talking about in this video as well. So most of my lessons are giving examples of that, just showing you that it is possible, number one, to learn by yourself. So I'm not speaking with you. You're not actually having a conversation with me. And right now this is live, but it will be just a recording later. But the point is that you just, as you understand something better, that's how you really feel more confident about speaking. All right. So the traditional way of thinking about language learning is that you speak first, and that's how you get fluent. So you get fluent by speaking. Speech triggers fluency. But I'm saying it's actually the opposite. So fluency triggers speech. So we need to figure out how do we trigger fluency, and fluency is triggered by understanding. So as you understand the language better, that's how you feel confident about speaking. All right, so as I'm giving you more examples of things, like that example of the word harsh, it's the same idea. So you're not just hearing one example and a translation of something, you're thinking about, like, wow, I really understand what this word means, or I understand a really good way to pronounce it, or the correct way to pronounce it, because I'm hearing lots of different people say that word. All right, so you can hear all these different examples, and as you get those, you feel more confident about speaking. So the fluency comes first as you understand the language better, and that's what we do in Fluent for Life. So the point is to help you understand the language well, and that's when you start speaking. And vocab, so what's the main, I think that's continuing to do that. So that is the main method. So they're basically, I'll just lay this out for people here and make sure this makes sense. I haven't talked about this in a while, so maybe it's a good time. What time is it now? Yeah, we got a little bit of time. Then I'll tell my quick Korean story. So we have two different triangles here. So this one, I'll just call this FT for the fluency triangle, and this will be the TP triangle. So TP meaning test prep. All right, so there are two different ways of learning English, and the basic idea is, like, when you're trying to become fluent, the purpose of learning this way over here, the fluency triangle, the purpose of this is to actually prepare you for dynamic communication. All right, so the purpose of this over here is to prepare you to pass tests by giving you specific responses for questions that you might get on a test. So a teacher teaches you something in a classroom, like hello. So in English, people say hello when they greet each other. All right, but in the fluency triangle, we're actually trying to get real vocabulary where we understand that many people might say something different than hello. You might say, hey, hi, what's up, how's it going, where you been, how's the family, how's it hanging? You get lots of different ways of expressing yourself. Okay, so the first difference between these two, we're trying to get like real English over here, and we're going to contrast that with what I call the textbook English. I'm sorry for my fast, sloppy writing here. But in the fluency triangle, again, the first part of this is real English, because if you don't understand real English, you won't be able to communicate with people or understand them in real conversations or watch people in movies and TV shows, that kind of thing. So textbook English is included in this, but often in traditional English lessons, you don't learn the real English that natives are using in real conversations. Okay, and this is why people often say it sounds like natives are speaking a different language than the English I learned in school. So people learn one kind of English in school, natives speak a different kind of English, and so there's a disconnect here. So if you want to move from here to here, you have to, instead of just learning textbook English, which is correct, it's usually formal English that's correct, we want to learn real English. All right, pretty simple. Now, the second thing here is, how do we learn that? All right, so it's not just what we learn, but how we learn this, which is really important. All right, so we're going to move here, kind of going around the triangle, but notice all three of these things are connected. You have to have all three if you want to be fluent. All right, so the second thing here is learning English as a first language. All right, and so I've given you an example of that here. Learning English as a first language just means you're able to understand things all in English with lots of understandable examples. And now this is where people talk about comprehensible input, or what I just say, understandable messages, or it's just making it understandable all in English. And so if you're learning any language, you should be learning that language directly. This is how natives learn their native language, because there is no other way to learn. So I have two daughters. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I've never taught them English through Chinese. All right, probably not surprising. All right, so I don't teach my daughters English through Chinese or through Portuguese or something like that. I teach them English in English, because that's the only way you can teach someone their first language. All right, now what happens is people get a first language like your native language, and then they use that to try to learn a different language, and this is what we call English as a second language. All right, so if you're learning English as a second language, it means you're trying to learn it through your first language. And that's what causes you all the problems with hesitating and translating, and you have doubts and you don't really know how grammar works. It just becomes very confusing for you. So the purpose here with learning English as a first language is that you're trying to understand the language the same way a native does. So in today's video, we're talking about the word fall. I'm giving you lots of examples of how it works. That's learning and understanding the language the same way a native does, okay? So again, this is the same way you learned your native language, whatever that is, and because how we learn is how we speak, that's all you have to do to get fluent in English, all right? So a lot of people will still learn real English. Like you can find examples of vocabulary videos, lots of them on YouTube, but they will teach them as a second language, all right? They will give you translations for what the word means rather than actually helping you understand it in English the same way a native would learn, okay? And so what's the last thing? We gave you an example of that today. That is naturally varied review, naturally varied review. All right, and over here, instead of naturally varied review, we have repetition. So we're just going to repeat something. This is what people talk about when they talk about practicing the language. Like, where does the practice come from? So we'll just put a P for practice here. And naturally varied review is the natural practice of a native speaker. Of course, they do speak, but typically even children or adults, they don't talk about things unless they feel confident that they're speaking correctly. So everyone has that issue where we don't want to say something that's incorrect because then we feel embarrassed or we look silly or whatever. So it's not just for English learners, this is for native speakers as well. All right, so we've got naturally varied review over here, and that's the example we gave today where we've got lots of different examples of something. We're trying to really understand the vocabulary, hear it from many different speakers, and then we really understand the vocabulary that way. All right, so that's how you are able to understand the vocabulary like a native. That's the practice you get. So you need to have all three of these things, and then you can see why this one would be much more confusing and more difficult for people. Okay, so if we have textbook English and we're learning it in a confusing way, so it's not the real language, and then we're just repeating that so we don't really understand the vocabulary better, of course you're going to have trouble speaking. Of course you are, all right? This is like, this is not designed to get you speaking. This is designed for test prep. It's designed to make you prepared for a particular, whatever that test is that you're having in a regular classroom. The teacher tells you this, you remember that, and then you repeat that thing on the test. That's how it works, all right? And there might be some speaking part of that, but it's usually just focused on the particular things, this particular textbook English. So you get all three of these things together, and of course that's what's going to cause the problems, okay? So this is the real reason why people struggle to speak. So all of this creates doubt, all right? But this creates certainty. Certainty and confidence. Okay, so if we have certainty and confidence, that's what creates fluency. Even before we speak, we feel more confident about something as we understand it better. Then we have fluency, then we speak. Speaking is the last part of this at the bottom over here, after we really understand the language well. So here we're trying to speak, or we talk to ourselves, or whatever the thing is, okay? So you see these two different ways of learning the language. This is the typical way that people learn, and that's why people struggle to speak. All right? So you need to have all three of these things if you want to become fluent. But if you have all three of them, then of course you would become fluent, guaranteed, because you would just understand the language very well. Very simple. All right? But this one, of course you're struggling to speak because you're not learning the real language, you're not really understanding it very well, and then you're just repeating things over and over, which doesn't really help you understand anything better. Okay? So it's not your fault if you've been learning this way. This is just the typical way that people are taught languages, because the purpose is to pass tests, and the purpose of this is to actually have fluent communication. All right? So it's a different goal, and because it's a different goal, it's a different process. In a regular teacher, like kind of classroom situation, they don't care if you become a fluent speaker. That's not their job. The point is for you to pass the test and go to the next level. All right? And so even people who take, the IELTS exam or whatever, the purpose of that, it's test prep. It's trying to prepare you for actual, whatever the test questions are. All right, so you might know a lot and it will teach you probably a lot of textbook English, but it's probably not going to teach you all of the real English and all of the examples of native pronunciation, all of those kinds of things that you will get from a real communication setting, like when you're having an actual conversation with someone. Okay? So these are the three things you need, and you need all three of them. If you just learn real English, but you learn it as a second language, you're probably going to get stuck still. All right. So that's what, again, you'll watch. There's lots of YouTube content that teaches real English, but most people forget this and this over here. All right. So you will learn some real English, like that's like a kind of in the middle way over here where you get real English, but you learn it as a second language. You don't really understand what you're learning. You're trying to get it through translations, and you're not getting a lot of naturally varied review. So people will watch lots of content on YouTube, but not feel more fluent because they're not really spending enough time. They're not getting that good review, the varied review that really helps them understand things. All right. So the goal is to destroy the doubt. And if you have doubt, that's what will stop you from speaking. All right. If you have any questions about this, let me know. But this is the basic idea. So this is, if you want to speak, you should do this. If you want to just pass a test, then it's okay to do this over here. I mean, actually, if you want to pass a test too, you should do this also. But you can see why people in regular conversations, or excuse me, like just regular classrooms for learning languages, they just do this. It's just easier. It's faster and it's easier to do it that way. All right. So the teacher, it's not like they don't care if you speak, but that's not the purpose of the class. The purpose is to prepare you for some kind of test. So they give you something to learn and something to repeat. And then you say that on the test and you get a good score. All right. Great. But does that really help you speak? Probably not. All right. So remember this idea. The point of Fluent for Life is to do this. It's to give you the real language, teach you that as a first language, and give you enough naturally varied review that you understand the language fluently. All right. So we have to take our time and go through things. But the nice thing about this is the process accelerates over time. So it actually gets faster as you learn more, because when you understand something well, now you can use that to understand more things. All right, so that's what I do. Like if you watch this video again, where I'm talking about fall, I'm using basic concepts and helping you understand more complicated things, and I do that in a specific order to make those aha moments much faster. So as you learn this way, you get aha moments. You feel more certain, more confident, and that's the process of developing fluency. So fluency doesn't happen as you repeat more, because you're not going to be able to speak if you still got doubt. All right, that's why the doubt is the most important thing. So even if you learn real English and you still kind of learn it like a native with native examples, if you don't get a lot of review, a lot of varied review, you're probably going to forget what you learned. So you need all three of these things, but it's just that. It's just these three things. All right, that'll give you everything you need to become a confident speaker, because it's all you need to destroy the doubt. All right. And speaking about people in the program, anybody who still has questions about things, we are always there 24 hours a day to answer questions. All right, let's see. Canaro says, my aha moment regarding today's lesson has been the example about Halloween, although we have the same expression in my native language, but I never dared to use it by translating. Thanks a lot, Drew. Yes, so excellent. That's like an excellent usage right there. So you feel like that moment of hesitation, because this seems like a logical thing to say, but I don't know if it's correct or not. When you feel that, that's great, fantastic. Excellent work. All right, so Jimon says, hello, Drew. Can we use falls apart if a land split into two? Yeah, you could say that. So something could fall apart. Like if typically fall apart is like if you have one thing that splits into many pieces. So if it's two different things, usually we would just say like split apart. So if we have two pieces of land like that, to split apart. But fall apart is like, just there's many different pieces are creating fall apart. So if I talk about my shirt, I gave that example before, like my shirt is falling apart. It means they're kind of different pieces of it are torn and they're all separating in that way. All right, so that's a subtle difference about falling apart. And so typically in relationships, when we're talking about a relationship falling apart, you have kind of different parts of the relationship are getting worse. So it's not just one thing, like we don't speak well, but we don't like spending time together or whatever. There are many different things that might mean the relationship is getting worse. So that's when we talk about it falling apart. Let's see. Edson says, hi, what would you say is the intuition of up preposition from the phrasal verb breaking up? I don't see it pretty clear. Yeah, in certain situations like this, like it might not be logical where you think about something like breaking up, like, and often we will add a preposition like up in something just to make it more casual or conversational. So you could have a situation where like things are actually breaking up and like moving up into some other position, but typically that doesn't happen. It just depends. I would say people use break up like it's like a, I don't know. It would be an interesting thing to look at the etymology of that. So etymology is the history of a word, the origin of the word, but why we talk about break up versus, whatever. But typically, yeah, it's like things kind of I don't know. I think the better way to understand it is like if we have, imagine like a circle here, and the circle is more like a planet, where if you have pieces of something, like they're moving in like kind of different directions away from something. So it's the same idea of like breaking apart, but the direction is not so important here. And you could even contrast this with something like breaking down. So to break down, we have like a machine or something that doesn't work so well anymore, or it stops working. So typically it's kind of like we're breaking, something breaks down. All right. But we can also break down something like I'm breaking down an explanation into smaller pieces, something like that. All right. So there are different ways of understanding that. It's not always true that we will have an easy to understand like a logical relationship between the vocabulary. Sometimes it will be almost like an idiom where it doesn't make sense why we would say like for a relationship like two people breaking up. But it's more like two things that were joined together and now they're going in their separate ways for a relationship. So they're breaking apart or breaking up in that way. So yeah, I wish I had a better explanation for that. But as you get more, and I would look into that, see if there's like, you can look at the historical uses of a word like breakup and get those examples. All right. Let's see. Almost done here. Christy, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Good morning, sir, from Hong Kong. Have you been to Hong Kong? It seems that I have seen you in Hong Kong. Let's see. Well, I was in Hong Kong. Was I in Hong Kong? I don't think so. I think I would remember that. No, I don't think I've ever been to Hong Kong. No, I have not. But there might be someone who looks like me, maybe. Goer says, a few days ago, I tried to buy Fluent for Life. Each card I tried was declined, although I enabled the card for international transactions. Let's see. I think we should be able to pay in local currency. Yes, number one, you do pay in local currency when you join. So it's automatically... the currency is automatically exchanged for any course you buy, and this is typical for buying things online. So whatever your local currency is, but I would check with your bank. So even if the card is enabled for international transactions, just for security reasons. So if you contact your bank and allow them to let the payment go through, then it should probably work. Prasanna says, hi, Drew. Good morning. Last couple of days, I couldn't come to the live lesson. I'm Prasanna from Sri Lanka. Well, that's okay. You can watch these anytime. Eklund says, so cool. Learning English as a first language is great to have. Thank you for the idea. I never thought of that before. Yes. So most people around the world are doing this. And that's for every language. You're learning French or Spanish or Thai or whatever. It's almost always doing this. So now, if you understand this, you know more than 99% of people learning languages. There you go. It took me 20 years to figure that out. So I spent 15 years trying to do this, trying to learn different languages. But as soon as I started learning Japanese this way, I finally started getting fluent. Keiko says, hello. Edson says, difference between listen to me and listen up to me. I mean, What does the up preposition add? Oh, in this, like, you wouldn't say listen. You wouldn't say listen to me. You would just say listen up. Listen up. Listen up. It's more like, you can, if you want to think about a logical connection like that, like listen up. Usually a teacher is talking to some students or somebody, and maybe they're at like a higher level, like, listen up. It's like, I'm specifically telling you, like, pay attention up here, not just like listen to the teacher or something down here, like listen up, everyone listen up. But we don't say listen up to me, because it's either you're listening up or you're listening to a particular thing. So you would pick one. Well, Sensei Ohio was I'm sorry, I'm a bit late today. It's okay. Thanks for the explanation. I appreciate that here. Vincent says, thanks, teacher, for revealing the best way to learn English as opposed to learning the fake way that creates doubts in translation and speaking. This reminds me of 7 Fluency Guides that you taught, I review. Yeah, so like when I talk about this, I want to update those. I'm actually working on that right now. So like a 20 years of teaching update. So everybody who's in Fluent for Life or who has the guides, they will get those updates. But I wanted to really make this clear for people, because I've gotten better over the years at explaining how this works. But I wanted to say this is not like, it's not like a bad way of learning. It's just the purpose is different. All right. So it's like if I want to drive to, I don't know, like I want to drive from here to Tokyo, I don't know, then I should, like, or if I wanted to get from here to Tokyo, like I could drive, I guess, but I could also fly, or I could take a boat there or something. There are different ways I could do that. So this one, like, the purpose of this thing is really just to prepare you for specific tests. That's the purpose of it. So it's not particularly bad, like, but that's why people give you these kinds of lessons. But for this, like, the purpose is to be prepared for all kinds of communication, because you don't know what people are going to use. You need to be prepared for lots of different things. Elder says, sup, Drew? Nice to hear you this morning. Thanks, Noan. My pleasure. Keiko summer vacation has already started in Japan. Ina? Yes. My children are on vacation now. It's interesting, like, kids love summer vacation, but parents, like, don't like it at all. So parents are like, no, the kids are at home now. We need to find something for them to do. But we will take it, we're going to take a few days, go down to Okinawa next week. So I will do a video on Thursday. I should be doing a video Thursday, but there will be no videos here next week. All right, let's see. Mustafa says, but I can't really get the NVR part of the triangle. So naturally varied review is what I did earlier in this video with different explanations and examples of the word fall. So if you just hear, like, the naturally varied review example would be all of those different examples of fall that I gave you. And the repetition would be just repeating the word fall again and again, trying to say that in conversations or trying to repeat it to myself or looking at flashcards. All right. So if you go back and watch this video, you will see lots of examples of that. But it just means varied review. So naturally varied review, the same way a native would get that different review. Eklund says, Drew, have you ever worn a red t-shirt color on here thinking you'd look good in it because of your almost pinkish light reddish face skin? Have I worn a red shirt? I wear the shirts that are available at the store. So I don't go out of my way to try to find, like, ooh, like a red shirt would look good on me, I should go get a red shirt. I just buy, the shirts that are available. So I get my shirts. Actually, these are some nice shirts. I like the quality. It's like a nice cotton fabric. I'll go to Uniqlo. That's my advertisement for Uniqlo. It's just a clothing shop over here. And sometimes I go to Mujirushi, which is another shop. But they typically don't have like bright red colors. I've rarely seen that. Maybe Japanese people don't buy that very much, so people don't wear that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe so it's not a thing. So I have like earth tone colors, or this like blue or purple or kind of pinkish color, I guess. That's just what they have available. And I don't like to buy stuff like clothes online because I want to try it on first. All right, C says, I think to apply EFL require at least a B level so they can be able to build understanding of words that have a bit harder, diverse meaning. No, that's not true because, again, like this is the process that native speakers use to learn their native language. So you're just making it very simple for them. All right, so again, like I've given my like Japanese example before, so many people, maybe new people, this will be helpful for, but if I'm trying to teach you Japanese as a first language, this is how I would do it. Maka, 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 maka. Aoi maka, ao, ao, aoi maka, ao, aoi shatsu, aoi shatsu. Maka, shatsu. Kuro, kuroi maka, kuroi maka. Aka, akai maka. Ao, ao, aoi shatsu, aoi maka. All right? So when we're giving people examples like this is the same thing, teaching you real Japanese, Japanese as a first language, giving you naturally varied review. All right. So you're understanding all of those things at the same time. And if I kept teaching you like that every day, you would become fluent in Japanese. All right. Now, of course, it wouldn't be just me. I would also get lots of examples of other Japanese people who can give you more examples of pronunciation and other things like that. But that's how the process works. So this is not for people at a certain level. This is for everybody at any level. It just depends on the specific things you're teaching. All right, so don't worry about that. It's making it easy for people to understand the language. It doesn't matter what level they are. So I have a question. Now I focus to improve my learning ability after I feel more confident in my listening ability. I'll change to my speaking ability. Is it the correct way? The point, it's not to listen, it's to understand the language really well. So the more you understand, the more confident you will feel, and that's how you become a fluent speaker. So the fluency develops as understanding improves. All right? And then speaking is a natural result of that because you understand. And when you don't have doubt anymore, you naturally start speaking. All right, Joe says, hi, sir. Just want to make your living just with YouTube, or are there other more side incomes? Well, I mean, this, like, helping people learn English, that's the only thing I do. Yeah. I don't have, like, a side job or anything like that, if that's what you mean. All right, I'll very quickly tell my story about kind of a similar thing here, but this is me learning some Korean, which I don't remember because I didn't get actually a lot of review about it, but I was sitting I was in Fukuoka, Japan, so that's another city. I live in Nagasaki, but I was in Fukuoka, and I was at a barbecue restaurant, so a Korean barbecue restaurant, and interestingly, they had some like posters and things in Korean on the wall. Obviously, it's a Korean restaurant, and there are quite a few Korean people in Japan, or you'll have Korean visitors in Japan. And so I saw a poster for the movie After Earth. So After Earth, this was a Will Smith movie from, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. I forget when it was made, but it was called After Earth, AFTER, After Earth. And so I looked at it, and there was no English on the, even the title was not in English. It was in Korean, or like Hanguru, or whatever I think, Hanguru? If any of my Korean watchers are watching this video. But anyway, I was trying to use the knowledge I had to understand some of the Korean, to see if I could figure out what some of it meant. And so the first thing was, I was looking at, I'm just going to draw some characters up here. I've actually not seen the movie. So it's a poster about the movie, but I did not watch the actual movie. So I'm sitting in this Korean restaurant, I'm waiting for some friends of mine, and I see this poster on the wall, and I thought, oh, maybe it's kind of like a puzzle. Let me see if I can figure out what some of this means. And so I don't remember the Hanguru, so this is like the Korean language, but I'm just going to draw some characters up here so you can understand the idea. So I was I saw the character it was like this. I'm just going to do like triangle, circle, or triangle, square, triangle. And then there was another one for also like a different character, and it was, let's see, we'll just put like plus and then something else. And it was, again, I'm not writing some actual language here, but looking at this, and this is not the full thing, but I saw basically it looked like this. It was like triangle, square, triangle, and then it was, let's see, like plus, circle, and then maybe we had over here. So it was two, it looked like names in the same way that you would have names in like on a regular English movie poster. So you have the names of the actors at the top of the poster. I actually have a video, I think there's a video on YouTube where I explain this in more detail. I show how it works. But then you have the other one that was like, I don't know, like XS, and then it was the same triangle, square, triangle thing. So instead of these little symbols here, we had some kind of Korean, but I couldn't read it. But I was looking at it and just saying like, oh, isn't that interesting? So we have the names of two things up here. It's the same characters. These ones are different, and these are the names at the top up here. Like, so they're at the top of the movie poster. Now, in a regular English movie poster, this is where we have the names of the actors who are in the movie. And the people in After Earth are Will Smith. So Will Smith and Jaden, I'm just going to put J here, and Jaden Smith. So I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? I bet this means Smith. And because this character and this character are the same, it probably works the same way in Japanese. So like instead of like they maybe don't have the like TH sound, they have like a su sound. So the Japanese way to say that would be like su, like me su. I'm not writing this very carefully, but the point is it would be like su, su. There's no TH sound in Japanese like that. So if we have like Will Smith and Jaden Smith, then I can learn, oh, look at that. Like this character means Sue, probably. That's what I guessed. And then, of course, in the name of After Earth, that same character, like After Earth, it looked like this, you know, something like that. So that was the actual character, and I said, oh, look at that. It's the same character, and I was able to read some of the Korean. Pretty cool. All right. So this is like if you imagine me taking a class in Korean and a Korean teacher is just like, this character means that. They're basically just telling me the answer. But if I have a way of figuring out the answer by myself, I'm going to feel a lot more confident. I'm going to own that word. Now, this was many years ago, and I didn't get any review of this thing, so I forgot what it is. But I think, like, at that moment, I was like, oh, look at that. Like, I bet that works the same way in Korean that it works in Japanese. All right? And I think I found that it did later. So it's like su, mi, su. So that's how you would say that name. And of course, After Earth, it has that same su character in that as well. So this is just another example of how I was able to learn some Korean by myself, just from like a Korean poster, a Korean movie poster. And I didn't know that was for sure, but most of my doubt was eliminated about that particular character. So I just thought it was a very interesting example of, number one, how you could learn something as a first language, but number two, when you learn something and you understand that thing, you really feel much more confident because you understood that well. All right? If I'd give you a riddle or a puzzle or some kind of thing to solve, you will feel much more confident about it if you get like the solution for that thing yourself, if you discover the answer to that. So me, while I'm teaching up here, I'm trying to make the language understandable so that you feel very confident about like how the language works. All right. So again, this was like I couldn't read like everything else. There were many more characters on here that don't make sense. But I felt confident about that one thing. It was like, look at that! I figured out some Korean, and I think I checked later, and that was correct. And maybe anybody Korean, I think we had somebody that corrected me earlier. But yes. Yeah, we do have a Korean learner right now. But if you write like Will Smith out there, you would see what those characters are. All right, let's see. So Aglin says, naturally varied review. To me, you basically learn your English through experience speaking with people, read a lot of books, sing karaoke songs in English, watch American films, etc. Well, again, like imagine you're in a conversation with someone. You don't become better or more fluent by you speaking, because it's really what the other person says to you that helps you understand the language better. So you do have like maybe you feel a bit more confident that you did speak, but that's not going to help you use your vocabulary more fluently. Only if you feel confident first will you use the vocabulary well. So that means you have to understand the vocabulary well first. So of those examples you gave, like watching TV shows or whatever, like basically all of that should be coming from input rather than you trying to speak. That means you don't need to live in an English-speaking country. You don't even need to have an English-speaking person right there. You just need that input to become a more confident speaker. So just like this example here, there was no Korean person talking to me during this. I just got like, oh, look at that. Like I figured out what that means. All right. Let's see. C says, thanks for your explanation and a bit of Japanese lesson, but what if something that we want to know can't be seen? Well, you typically take the language that you already know and then use that. So if I'm trying to explain something and I can't explain, like I can't show you what it means, I should, and like it would be, I don't know when you would have an example like that where you're trying to force someone to understand something only by listening to it. It's pretty rare. I can't really think of anything. But in general, we really want to make sure people understand things, and you would be able to use like even showing people in a situation like this. So I can explain things to you without giving you like a visual drawing of it or whatever, but I can still give you like a mental picture often of how things work. And if you understand the basic pieces of that, you can take those and then understand some of those, like some new things like that. So Canaro says, how did you read Tatiana the same way as Smith? Yeah, like again, I'm taking pieces of information that I know already and trying to apply those. So it's like I know like some of those Cyrillic characters have the same meaning in English, and I'm trying to guess like what would that mean, and thinking about other examples where I've heard something like that before. So I didn't know for sure, but I guess the guess was correct. But that again, like the moment of discovery, that aha moment is the thing where like, oh, look at that, something makes sense and I understand a little bit better. Sita says, thanks for sharing the story. Keiko says, thank you, teacher. Dewa mata. Yes, see you later and see you next time. All right, looks like a good spot to end the video, but if you joined us late, I do recommend you go back and watch it. You will learn more. Usually, like there actually is value in repetition, but there's only a little bit of value in that. So if you're watching this video, how long is this? So we've been talking for over 100 minutes now. Oh my goodness. So if you're watching this video, you will maybe think about what you're going to have for dinner or think about something else. Your mind will wander and you will not hear some things that I said. So if you go back and watch it again, you will think, oh, look at that, some new information. So even if you repeat the same thing a few times, it's okay, but you will learn a lot more by getting naturally varied review as opposed to just trying to repeat things by yourself. All right, hopefully that makes sense. If you would like to learn more about this, you can click on the links in the description below this video. You can learn more about Fluent for Life. That's where we get you fluent. So it's our fault if you don't get fluent, rather than the typical way where it's your fault if the teacher told you and you didn't study. All right. Anyway, let me answer these last questions here. You look like a movie star, I think Johnny Clooney. I think maybe you're combining Johnny Depp and George Clooney. Or maybe I look like, or you're saying I look like a combination of both of them, I guess. I don't know. Or maybe some different Johnny. Joseph says, what do you think about shadowing and a scriptorium technique? Is from the polyglot Alexander Argelis? No idea. I mean, shadowing is just repeating what other people say, basically. But I don't know if there's a specific fancy technique you have to do. What I'm doing when I think about teaching and think about learning a language is looking at native speakers. So I think again about the fluency triangle versus the test prep triangle. And I just think about what is the result? What is my purpose for learning? And if my purpose is to speak like a native, I should learn like a native. And if I ask natives like, hey, are you guys using a special technique? Are you shadowing or doing whatever? They'll be like, no, we're just, of how the language works or whatever. But that's basically the idea. So I'm just going to do what natives are doing, and I'm trying to make that easier for other people to understand. So that's what I'm doing with these videos here. So I don't know what what polyglots are doing or what a particular polyglot might recommend for something, but often I'm more like Henry Ford. So Henry Ford was a guy trying to make the automobile, the car, available for everybody. And that's where the name English Anyone comes from, that same idea of I'm trying to make a system that anybody could use to learn English. So it's not about me becoming an awesome learner of many languages. My job is, it's actually more entertaining and important and just interesting for me to help other people learn the language. So I'm sure there are probably some people who are good speakers of multiple languages who might not be able to help other people learn. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really follow polyglots. But again, I think it's an impressive thing to be able to do. But I'm not, I don't know, maybe there are good polyglots that are also really good at helping people understand like a native. I don't know if that's the case or not. But it should be a very easy thing. And I would imagine polyglots are probably doing a lot of that same thing, even if they don't call it that specific thing. But it's basically just trying to understand something like a native. And I don't really have a better way to explain it other than just how you learn is how you speak. C says, have you taken, you'd say did you eat breakfast? Yes, I did. Arigato, Drew says, Aklan. And thanks for the lesson. Shadowing can create muscle memory. Yes, I'm not saying it's not helpful at all, but lots of people just repeat things and they don't become confident speakers. So again, look at the purpose of something. The result that you get from a particular method is the important thing. For me, I want to become a confident speaker. I want to be able to express myself fluently, to be prepared, whatever the situation. I'm going to meet somebody for dinner, or I see someone unexpectedly on the street. Can I have a conversation with that person? All right, that's what I'm trying to do. That's my goal. So I don't care about having knowing a particular phrase for a test. All right, and so I'm looking at different techniques, and I've tried lots of different things over the years to try to learn. But when I thought about what you really need to communicate, it's just those three things. You need to know the real vocabulary, you need to understand it like a native, and the naturally varied review is what helps you do that. All right, so you will, even if you learn some good vocabulary, you will likely forget it if you don't get different examples of the thing. But repetition is very boring for people naturally, so it's much better to get varied review. All right, hopefully that makes sense. We will shut it down now, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. If you have, do click that like button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.